Before we get into the video, I just wanted to say the gaming videos are going to stay on the second channel. After kind of thinking it over and everything, I know I've been kind of flip-flopping, trying to figure out what I've wanted to do with these channels for the past couple weeks, but to be honest with you, I didn't want there to be a certain amount of pressure with the extra content that I do. You know, the main channel is mostly consistent of MMA style videos, UFC, boxing, combat sports in general, and if that's something that's not your thing, I don't want you to have to come to the main channel just for that specifically. So I'm going to have the second channel where it's going to be filled mostly with Batman Arkham content. But if there's anything else, like, maybe a different type of sport related or anything else that I really want to talk about going forward, we'll mostly be here on the channel, but it's pretty much going to be a gaming channel for the most part. And I wanted to give you guys the top quality I can, and I think having on the second channel might do that from the standpoint of there's no pressure for me to have to make videos a certain amount of time due to, ads and stuff like that involved. Like, it's not about money, it's about more so about pure enjoyment. So I'm going to try to get about 1 to 2 of these types of video out every single week, and I really hope you guys enjoy. I just didn't want to make it kind of mixed up. Like, there was kind of mixed reception on the whole gaming stuff, but I want to have the main channel prioritizing the combat sports aspect of stuff and have this channel prioritizing stuff I really enjoy talking about without making it about the financial gain or the money involved, which I never really made a lot of money off the Batman Arkham games to begin with. There wasn't really a whole lot I profited off it. The total amount of money I made from the Arkham games probably would have bought me like one Arkham game when it first came out. Like, I probably made a total of about $70 total. It really wasn't anything insane. But anyways, moving on to the video title today, we're going to be going over what if Joker survived Batman Arkham City, because I think there's a lot here that potentially going to happen. There's a lot of variables and stuff that went on, and there's some stuff that I actually didn't even jot down that I'll probably mention towards the end of the video, but I do have some points here that I quickly want to go over, starting with, I don't think that there would be an Arkham Knight, right? Because think about this. Jason Todd would never want to be near the Joker again. The trauma and the PTSD from the torture would have been too much for Jason to handle. The only other way the Arkham Knight could have been a character is if the Arkham Knight was a different person, likely Anarchy, Deathstroke, or I'm sure there's other people who you probably could argue could have been the Arkham Knight. But in this case, let's just say there's no Arkham Knight, which I guess kind of does defeat the purpose of the title of the game, but that's a completely different story. Instead, let's say Deathstroke fills in the shoes. A lot of the story would be the same, except for the fact that Deathstroke doesn't know Batman's identity, which I guess could result in Deathstroke not making as strong of an army due to Deathstroke not knowing Batman as well as Jason does, right? Remember, Jason was Robin. They worked together for a very long time. He knows the ins and outs of every single detail of what Batman did and does. But I think that Deathstroke would still study Batman, especially with the obsession that he kind of seemed to build with Batman, wanting to get, his revenge. So, how does this tie to the Joker exactly, though, right? Because we're talking about Deathstroke and everything. Well, in my opinion, I think it would kind of throw a wrench into stuff. Deathstroke did work with the Joker previously, and would have a good understanding of how the Joker works. Having Joker around would definitely throw a wrench into Scarecrow's plans, considering how much of a wildcard Joker actually is. But I don't think Scarecrow would be deterred from going forward with his plan, because he'd most likely want to know what makes the Joker so scared, while simultaneously being the one to end Batman and his entire legacy and fear-inducing personality. So you pretty much want to get a feel for the Joker. What makes the Joker tick? What makes him scared? Because every time you see Joker, he's always laughing, he's always cheery, but some things would be missing from the game, like the Panesso Studios mission. Is anybody going to be upset about that? I honestly think most of us would be fine with it. I just don't care for the part of the game. It's not inherently bad, but it's also not really good. I mean, come on. But instead, we'd probably get pulled into something with the Joker, because the Joker would probably get lonely without Batman being in pursuit of him and going after Scarecrow instead, giving someone else the spotlight, which would add to Joker's biggest fear of being forgotten. Because if you guys remember, at the end of Batman Arkham Knight, when you're playing in that Joker section, Joker's very much like afraid of being forgotten. That's kind of part of the reason why I think he is who he is, because he really enjoys putting on a show. He's almost like a circus act. He's a clown. He entertains people, kind of like, how a jester used to do for kings and queens way back in the medieval times. It's kind of a similar concept here, in my opinion. But I think if you keep the main villains the same or only change Jason Todd to Deathstroke, I don't think the story really changes all that much aside from some type of Joker mission as opposed to the Panessa Studios section. What mission, you might ask? Possibly one involving Joker or his men going after Scarecrow due to his plan to interfere in something that Joker wants to do with Batman. And maybe in this mission, Scarecrow is about to inject Joker with fear toxin, in which Batman pushes Joker out of the way and gets injected himself, which is definitely a possibility, right? Because, I mean, Batman jumped off a roof to save Joker's life. He literally said he would have saved him at the end of Batman Arkham City. It's not that much of a stretch to say that Joker would try to save, or Batman would try to save Joker from Scarecrow, right? Because it doesn't matter what Joker's done. Batman believes that he can rehabilitate anybody, and that kind of does, include the Joker. But there could also be a reasonable way to include Joker into the game without making him too involved, but still keeping it realistic to their characters. And it's kind of hard to include the Joker without putting him front and center due to his personality and how interesting of a character he is, right? That's the whole purpose of Batman and Joker. They're such polar opposites, but yet they're so similar in certain regards to the point where I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Like, if you have a story where Joker is kind of like a side character, but people didn't like him because he's too much of a showman. He causes too much attention. He causes too much chaos, which really makes it extremely entertaining. But at least this would tone down how much he get used. I also think you could add a mission where Deathstroke tries to unalive the Joker and Batman has to save him, reminding Joker of how Batman saved him back in Batman Arkham Origins. But you can also remove the previous mission I mentioned and replace it with this one I just mentioned if you like that one more. So it's kind of up to you whether you prefer a little approach of Batman saving Joker from a fear toxin injection or from a unaliving attempt with a certain type of weapon that I don't know if I'm allowed to say on YouTube, right? So whichever one you prefer absolutely would be fine. The only questionable part about this as well is how the ending would go, because Red Hood saves Batman at the end of the game. If it's Deathstroke, he's most likely not going to save Batman unless it's entirely on the premise that he wants to be the one to finish Batman off. Because if Batman's in a compromised position and Deathstroke comes in and kind of third parties and shoots him while he's handcuffed, it's not going to be as satisfying as if he puts a beating on him in a 1v1 combat type of scenario, right? Which is possible, but let's say that doesn't happen because I don't bet on that to happen. I'd honestly bet the Joker might be more likely to try to save Batman, right? Because he lives for the cat and mouse game, the chase, if you will. Nothing makes the Joker feel more alive, wanted, and even loved in a way, like Batman being in pursuit of him. Because like I said, the Joker is an agent of chaos. He wants to be chased down by the Bat. I think if Batman were to pass away, if he were unalived, I think Joker would lose a lot of his purpose, right? Because I don't think the Joker, I don't think that Batman caused the Joker to be who he is. I think Joker would have been crazy regardless. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, which if you guys want me to make a video on something like that, like did Batman create Joker, I can absolutely do something like that. Let me know down in the comments. But in my opinion, I honestly think that Joker would feel kind of empty in a way without Batman. Just because, that's kind of what gives him a sense of purpose in life. And not to say he wouldn't have been crazy regardless, like I mentioned earlier, but it's possible he tries to save him, and I honestly wouldn't doubt it. And I can honestly see Joker shooting Scarecrow and unaliving him, but leaving Batman to get himself out so Joker can escape. This, of course, would happen after the face reveal, which I would have loved to see Joker's reaction to, how he'd react to seeing the person under the mask who Batman's been chasing Joker for years. They've been doing the cat and mouse thing like I mentioned earlier. And now Joker can finally see the person underneath. And I think his reaction would be very telling of how he views Batman. And would probably be the most significant part of the game in my opinion. If Joker finds out who Batman is, and does that ruin their relationship? Or does the Joker say, "You're still bats to me," and run away laughing? Because that would be so fascinating. I think overall the Joker could have added one thing that other characters can't in the same light, and that would be the chaotic factor like I mentioned earlier. while Batman deals with chaos on a regular basis, the Joker brings it to a whole new level due to him not having any cares or morals as to who he hurts, right? Joker's not afraid to really blur the lines. He will unalive anybody for the fun of it, right? Even people on his own team, he will unalive for the fun of it, right? I don't even know if I need to really mention examples, but like Batman Arkham Asylum, he blew up the gargoyle just to test it out, not caring if it hurt one of his men or not. Like, he does not care. He shot his own men in Batman Arkham Origins who were pointing guns at Batman after Batman jumped off a roof to save him. So, in my opinion, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Joker saved Batman. And you might say that's crazy. Joker would never do that. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, right? Like, Joker's obsessed with Batman. He needs Batman, right? It's kind of like if your pet were to pass away, like, what are you going to do without him? I'm not saying that Batman's Joker's pet, but, like, they have this weird relationship. Like, even Batman felt empty for a while and was never the same after Joker passed away. So it could absolutely be the same thing. But if you're someone who doesn't like the idea of Joker being in the main story, then possibly a side mission can work as well. But I personally don't like this idea as much, considering Joker brings such a huge presence to these games that relegating him to a side mission is kind of like a slap in the face. But if you guys think he'd make a good side mission, what kind of side mission would you guys like? What do you think it would be? Put a suggestion down in the comments and maybe I'll go over that in a future video. But something else that I kind of forgot about, and this is what I alluded to earlier that I said I'd mention at the end, is how the introduction to the game would work. Because Gordon states at the beginning of Batman Arkham Knight that crime has fallen since the Joker has become more of a featured character. Or since the Joker passed away, sorry. Since the Joker passed away, crime fell dramatically. Even though deep down Gordon knew that something was coming, it didn't change the fact that crime did fall for a short while after Joker's passing, where I obviously don't think that would have happened in the event of Joker not passing away, but also, like, after Arkham City, would Joker have just come to Gotham and found something like the Psionic Steel Mill or something to hold up in? Would Scarecrow even want to activate plans of any kind like he did, like with the Cloudburst and everything in Batman Arkham Knight, if the Joker was around? Because, like I said, the Joker is an unknown variable when it comes to anything. You don't know what he's going to do, depending on what mood he's in on a specific day. You never know what the Joker's going to bring to the table, and it's very possible that Scarecrow would kind of want to avoid Gotham altogether, but at the same time, he did hold a meeting with the villains before the game's events. I don't know if you've heard this mentioned before in the past, but yes, there was a meeting, like Ivy mentioned at the start of the game, and I don't think that Joker would have been invited to this meeting, because like I said, he causes too many problems, it's too chaotic, he's too unpredictable. And honestly, like I said before, the best part of this entire game, if Joker were to live, would be depending on his reaction to how he would react to Batman being unmasked, to his identity being revealed. I think that that would change everything, because Joker doesn't want to know Batman's identity, so I feel like he would get very upset about it. But honestly, I think that it would make Batman Arkham Knight that much more chaotic, but I also think a lot more people would dislike the game. A lot of people don't like the fact that the Joker's in the game to begin with, so I think if Joker was included in Batman Arkham Knight, I think people would be really angry, right? Especially considering, like, Batman Arkham Origins, for example. People were so mad that he turned out to be the main villain of that game that I wouldn't be surprised if it was the exact same thing here going on in Batman Arkham Knight. Like, I think people would really dislike the game, just like they did Batman Arkham Origins, but over time, people did come to love Batman Arkham Origins, but people were so sick of the Joker. Then when he was included in Batman Arkham Knight after not even being alive, that is where people really got annoyed. I will never be angry with the Mark Hamill performance. I wasn't even angry that the Joker was in the game. I thought he was extremely funny. I thought he was well used throughout the game, despite him not even being alive. But I can understand the frustration and the annoyance. So an alternative to this could be something that they actually did in this game, and that's a DLC, right? Remember the Matter of Family DLC, where Joker and Harley Quinn are the main villains, and you're trying to rescue Commissioner Gordon, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl's dad. So I think that they could have went down that route, and they did go down that route, but could have just gone down the DLC route, so that you don't have to play it if you don't want to, but it is an optional course that you can take if you see fit. So this is just my theory of what if Joker survived Arkham City. Ultimately, I think it just comes down to causing a lot of chaos. I honestly think he would just be so unpredictable that it's very hard to predict what would happen. But I think that it's more likely than not that Jason Todd would not come back. I think it'd be like a Deathstroke type of situation. Maybe Deathstroke would unalive Joker. Maybe Joker would pay Deathstroke to try to finish him off again just to see Batman kick Deathstroke's ass. I mean, it's absolutely possible that Joker would love to watch those two fight. And if he thinks Batman would win that fight, he'll say, hey, Slade, I'll give you that 50 mil if you do kill him for real this time. And, like, maybe Joker really wants to see that fight. It's very unpredictable, but it's also extremely entertaining to watch. I think he would have been an absolute agent of chaos. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. What do you guys think would have happened if Joker survived Batman Arkham City into Batman Arkham Knight? Would he have made the game better? Would he have made it worse? I personally think he would have added a lot of good context to this game. I think he would have made it, like I said, very unpredictable. And I think that having Joker and Scarecrow, even though they were together in the asylum, you know, they were not really working together, but like they were in the same vicinity of each other. But this time with Scarecrow taking the front and center stage, I think could change the perspective overall on this. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!